Today, President Trump is hosting South Africa's president at the White House. Today's meeting comes after months of tension between the two countries. South African native Elon Musk, who has criticized the country's land ownership laws, is set to attend the meeting alongside several cabinet officials. For insight on what may come out of this political and diplomatic encounter, we're joined by Professor Ruth Hall from the University of the Western Cape. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Ruth.
Thank you so much.
So, Ruth, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Trump is likely to raise the issue, allegations against Afrikaners in South Africa. Is there discrimination against Afrikaners in South Africa, which is the South African white minority in that country?
Good day to you. Certainly, we expect President Trump to raise two issues. One is about the defense of property rights and land rights for farmers in South Africa, and the other is the allegation of a white genocide that he has put forward repeatedly. On both these counts, there is in fact no factual basis to the allegations. On the basis of an expropriation law, President Trump has said that white farmers are having their land taken away without any kind of compensation. There has not been a single case of that so far in South Africa. So on that basis, I think that President Ramaphosa of South Africa will be at pains to say that we have a legal framework for property rights in South Africa, and that there is a lot of fake news about land being taken from white farmers. On the issue of a genocide, it's clear that South Africa is a violent country, but the murder rate against white people is by far lower than the murder rate of black South Africans. So on that front as well, we expect Ramaphosa to try to allay President Trump's fears. But the key issues that will be on the table will be our trade arrangement between South Africa and the US and normalizing diplomatic relations.
Ruth, I wanted to just clarify, just for the American audience here, because they are getting the information that you're refuting here. I want to hear it from someone who's there and to let the people here understand what you've clarified the issue of genocide, because we're hearing one thing from the president, but of course, you know, you have to be there to understand what's happening there. So these issues that South Africans are hearing, when they hear the president saying these things, the U.S. president saying these things, what is their reaction?
Well, of course, South Africans are just quite mystified by the allegations that that land is being confiscated from white farmers, because many black South Africans would like the government to take land away from wealthy white South Africans who got it under apartheid and redistribute that land to poor black farmers and to farm workers and people who have no homes. But it hasn't happened. So the South African government has not even once taken away white farmland through a confiscation without compensation and given it to black South Africans. There has not been a single case. On the question of white genocide, I think that this narrative quite clearly comes from some interest groups among the white Afrikaner minority that has said that the attacks on white people, particularly white people in rural areas are where people are more likely to own firearms. There is more violent crime, but in a less densely populated setting, there have been attacks on white farmers. But we know that less than 10% of the murders that happen on white-owned farms are actually of white people. Most people who are murdered on white-owned farms are actually black farm workers. So I think that what we expect is that President Trump will make these allegations, and that President Ramaphosa, rather than trying to simply refute on the basis of fact, will rather focus on what are our common interests between South Africa and the United States. And that is about normalizing trade relations and securing a future partnership around agriculture, mining and manufacturing, where we do a lot of trade.
Ruth, I did want to ask you a final question with the short time we have left. Elon Musk is expected to be in on this meeting. What is the perception from those in South Africa about Elon Musk's involvement here with this meeting and the South African president's trip to the White House?
Well, I think that across the political spectrum, so many South Africans know that a lot hinges on this trip and on President Ramaphosa's famous negotiating skills to be able to land a deal. Elon Musk is a very divisive figure in South Africa. Many South Africans feel that he has really turned his back on the country and that what he has alleged about South Africa is entirely untrue and is more related to his own business interests in South Africa. He famously wants to set up a base for his Starlink company and objects to the kinds of policies in South Africa that try to broaden out partnerships and shareholdings among white and black South Africans. So I think that what we're hoping is that everybody can see the bigger picture here. And it's good to know that President Ramaphosa is together with some big business leaders who also see the bigger picture and want to secure this trade agreement and to normalize relations.
Ruth, it's very interesting to hear, what is happening, the view on the other side from here. So we do appreciate your time and giving some insight into how South Africans think this meeting is going to go and their views on that side of the world. So we appreciate your time. Ruth Hall at the University of Western Cape, thank you so much for joining us.